Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. There's good news for the Albanese government this week. ALP support's up 2% to 51%, so it's now ahead of the coalition on 49% on a two-party preferred basis, as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese travelled to the APEC and G20 leaders forums in South America. This is the first time the government has led the coalition in two-party preferred terms for a month. Despite the ALP now taking the lead, if a federal election were held now, the result would be too close to call. Either major party, the ALP or the coalition, would require the support of minor parties and independents to form government. Albanese met up with key world leaders, including US President Joe Biden, Chinese President Xi Jinping, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, at the summits held back-to-back in mid-November. Now, similar Roy Morgan results over many years show a lift in party support when our Prime Minister meets important global leaders. However, this is usually short-lived as electors refocus back onto the local issues which concern them. There's also been a significant increase in government confidence. That's whether people think the country's going in the right direction or the wrong direction. And this week, up 6.5 points to 81. This is the highest rating for government confidence since late July, although it's still well below the neutral level of 100. Our consumer-based economic measures show consumer confidence down and inflation expectations up. So the ANZ Roy Morgan Consumer Confidence dropped 1.1 points to 85.7 this week. Despite the fall, consumer confidence has spent 6 weeks above 85 for the first time in well over 2 years. Inflation expectations increased 0.3% to 5% this week. So Australians are now expecting annual inflation to be 5% over the next 2 years. Concerningly, this weekly result is the highest since early August, over 3 months ago, and it's above the 4-week moving average of 4.8%. And now to the latest figures on mortgage stress. Roy Morgan's the only company that measures mortgage stress every month, and the latest mortgage stress figures show mortgage stress has eased for 4 months in a row now. Now, 26.2% of all Australians with a mortgage are at risk of mortgage stress. That's down 2.1 percentage points on just a month ago, and it's down 4.1 since June 2024, before the Stage 3 tax cuts. The decline in mortgage stress is primarily due to rising household incomes, particularly since the tax cuts, which, along with extended pause in interest rate increases since late last year, has really reduced the financial pressure on some mortgage holders. The latest ABS September quarterly inflation figures released recently show headline inflation dropping to 2.8%. That's the lowest since early 2021, and within the Reserve Bank's preferred target range of 2 to 3%. However, despite this, the Reserve Bank did not cut interest rates in November and is unlikely to cut them in December. The bank signalled it's concerned about core measures of inflation that remain higher than 3% and is unlikely to cut interest rates until next year. Finally, the Roy Morgan readership figures for the 12 months to September 2024 were released yesterday, and they show that 97% of Australians, or an estimated 21.8 million, consume news in an average month, either in newspapers or digitally via online platforms or perhaps apps. The most widely read category remains general news, with a unique audience, or read by, 21.1 million Australians, equivalent to 93% of the population. Perhaps unsurprisingly, around 2/3 or 66%, or 14.8 million Australians, turn to the property section. That's the second most popular. In third place is sport, read by 12.2 million Australians, the majority, or 54% of the population, just ahead of lifestyle and health on 11.6 million, entertainment and culture on 11 million, and business and finance read by 10.2 million. Roy Morgan figures on magazine readership were also released today, showing 14.8 million Australians read magazines in print or online. That's equivalent to almost 2/3 of all Australians. And 6 out of the 15 magazine categories actually increased their readership year on year. For detailed information on the latest Roy Morgan readership figures for magazines and newspapers and the Think News Brands analysis, visit the Roy Morgan website. And that's a wrap. Thanks for viewing the Roy Morgan's latest results this week, and I'll be back next week to bring you the most up-to-date readings on consumer confidence, inflation expectations and voting intention in Australia. Thanks for listening.